When we look at the abyss, our first instinct is to see monsters. Science fiction has trained us to expect terrifying, fast-moving nightmares lurking in the pitch black. These animals represent the absolute edge of biological optimization, functional machines designed to operate on the thinnest possible margins of caloric survival. To understand why they look the way they do, we must look at their baseline constraint: zero solar energy input. Down here, the sun does not exist. This creates an environment governed by strict biological economics. Every calorie is precious, meaning survival is an uncompromising return on investment calculation. If a physical trait doesn't pay for itself, it gets eliminated. This chart shows the investment environment as depth increases. As the line plunges past 1,000 meters, light drops to zero and hydrostatic pressure spikes exponentially. Reaching the 7,000-meter mark, the crushing weight is immense, hundreds of times the atmospheric pressure at sea level. Under this specific combination of absolute darkness, zero food, and crushing weight, standard survival strategies fail. You cannot afford to be a biological generalist here. Instead, every organism operates on a strict complexity budget. A massive jaw or a glowing lure carries a steep caloric maintenance cost. You only build it if it guarantees a massive payout. We are going to analyze the cost versus yield of 3 distinct survival frameworks nature uses to balance this impossible biological ledger. Those bizarre alien aesthetics we fear are the visual artifacts of perfect evolutionary accounting in an environment of absolute scarcity. Our first strategy is anatomical minimization, focusing entirely on the aggressive reduction of dense biological tissue. Complex muscle systems and rigid skeletons are highly expensive to maintain. If you are swimming for weeks without finding a single meal, a dense body will rapidly bankrupt your energy reserves. The biological input here is deletion. Creatures like the pelican flounder flatten themselves to paper-thin profiles, while deep-sea octopuses like the flapjack or the Casper octopus replace thick muscle with squishy, translucent, gelatinous tissue. The direct outcome of this structural reduction is the ability to achieve neutral buoyancy, even under thousands of meters of crushing water pressure. The ROI is highly favorable. By mostly mimicking the density of the water around them, their caloric maintenance cost drops almost to zero. But there is a severe trade-off. By deleting bone and muscle, you accept extreme physical fragility and the complete absence of any active defense mechanisms. This trade-off locks the organism into a strictly passive, slow-moving existence. You cannot fight and you cannot flee. In the abyss, being totally defenseless is a calculated economic advantage, provided it guarantees you won't starve to death while waiting for a piece of detritus to drift by. The second framework takes the exact opposite approach. This is the high-leverage lure and ambush, a high-risk, high-reward physiological investment. The biological input requires spending huge amounts of precious energy to build over-engineered cranial structures and power specialized bioluminescence. Look at the dragonfish. It powers highly specialized photophores that emit a red light. Since most prey down here cannot see the color red, this energy-intensive hardware acts as an invisible sniper scope to stealthily illuminate a target. Then there is the gulper eel. Its input is massive anatomical leverage, building an enormous lower jaw capable of unhinging to snap like a whip. The outcome of maintaining this heavy biological equipment is a drastically increased probability of capturing rare, nutrient-dense prey that happens to wander into range. These specific adaptations allow the predator to swallow fish significantly larger than its own body. When encounters are sporadic, you have to maximize every single one, but the trade-off is lethal. Maintaining a glowing lure or a giant jaw burns calories fast. If the biological hardware fails to secure a catch, that high overhead cost guarantees rapid starvation. This terrifying anatomy functions as a desperate, highly leveraged gamble to secure a single life-saving meal. Our third framework is the most extreme: absolute resource consolidation. We see this clearest in the reproductive cycle of the male anglerfish. In millions of cubic miles of pitch-black water, the statistical probability of a male and female finding each other twice is essentially zero, so nature optimized the input. Once a male finds a female, he bites into her flesh, physically fusing his tissue and bloodstream with hers. The outcome is a perfectly guaranteed reproductive cycle. The female now has an on-demand genetic supply ready exactly when she needs it. The trade-off is total. The male sacrifices his complete physical autonomy. He degrades from an independent fish into a literal permanent parasite, subsisting solely on her nutrients. When maintaining independent survival is too energetically costly, total biological surrender becomes the ultimate system optimization. Mapping these three distinct biological frameworks side by side highlights how the cost of survival shifts depending on the chosen strategy. This chart plots the ecosystem: horizontal axis for energy expenditure, vertical for survival strategy. Bottom left, Casper octopuses rely on passive scavenging. In contrast, the dragonfish and gulper eel dominate the top right, spending massive energy executing active ambush strikes. The deep ocean eliminates the generalist. Survival at these depths requires total, uncompromised specialization. For biology educators, this shifts the focus from creepy curiosities to the physics of energy conservation. For engineers, these creatures offer direct blueprints: the targeted red light photophores of the dragonfish or the modular chaining of the siphonophore are proven solutions for extreme environment system design. Survival in extreme environments isn't about adding complexity. It is about ruthlessly eliminating anything that doesn't directly contribute to the ultimate return on investment of staying alive.